Welcome to the expert tier in review. I'm your host, Queen Bee, and today we have 3 lovely players as well as 2 GMs. Hold on. I didn't plan it this way. Maybe I did, but it's going to be a grand old time getting to learn about expert, the tier, talk about the season that these lovely players got to have, but also get a real in-depth experience about what it's like to play in VDC. So without further ado, let's just do a quick get to know you talk, maybe with Shampoo, and get to know who Shampoo is.
Hi, I'm Shampoo. I joined VDC when I think it was back in season 3. Back then, I originally got drafted by CHA, who are now IE, but they dropped me after preseason, I think, and I joined the Blaze, and we ended up making the finals, but we lost to LG. And then season 4, I played Combines, but I had to leave the country. I ended up just skipping the entire season, but now I'm back for season 5. We didn't make playoffs, but that's fine.
What a journey. What a journey you've been on. Franchise reworkings, leaving the country, coming back. All right, Hunter, what about you? Tell us a little bit about your VDC experience.
Like she said, my name is Hunter. I am the GM of VTX currently. I joined VDC in season 3, where I was drafted to the prospect tier of VTX, and I've stayed with VTX. I played prospect in season 3, apprentice/advanced is what it was called the season before that. I played that in season 4, and both those times I was not GM, I was just player, and then I moved up to expert this last season, also became the GM in season 5. We were literally the first team to miss out on playoffs in 2 different tiers, so oh well, run it back next season.
Wow, I was going to say, talk about the arc starting at the tier of prospect, then apprentice, working your way up to expert. You've seen things in this league for sure. Amazing. And let's get down to our potato.
Hello, my name is Potato Aim. I am expert now, but I actually started off in season 1, came in season 1, the OG of OGist. Players here as initially being drafted to TB, the Blaze, Embers, their advanced team, which actually ironically is the same team as what Shampoo was on his first season as well. But I got traded midway to LG's Red Rose and actually ended up winning a chip from there. So I have not won any chips since then. This season was the closest we've gotten, or at least I've gotten to winning a chip, but unfortunately we were bested out of that chip in a 3-0 blowout. So, but that's okay. I am currently on TT, which is Double Taps, and actually was traded to Double Taps immediately after season 1, and I've been there ever since. I was their AGM since season 3, and then recently took over as GM for season 5. Little bit of lore real quick too. Envious, who was the GM since season 2 to 4, was actually on the other side of the final that I won season 1. And so I guess, we actually became really good friends season 1. And so he wanted me to join him when he took over as GM. So yeah. But as we launch into this tier in review, just wanted to give a little bit of quick background on expert. Expert is our third highest tier, if you count from bottom up. Generally speaking, the ranks are loosely around like plat to ascendant. We actually have we actually had one immortal peak as well. So it really can vary, but generally speaking, it's going to be around plat to ascendant 1.
Wow, I'm still caught up on the lore there between you and Envious, which I think speaks to a lot of VDC. Like, a lot of people who make friends in VDC are opponents, but then come together in the end at some point a lot of the time. So it's really great to be able to see that. So then I guess this is a great segue into just the start of a season. You signed up or you're coming back and you go straight into Combines. What is Combines like as an expert player? Do you find that they're quite busy? What do you feel like the competitiveness of the lobbies are like? What can you guys speak to for that?
Combines were actually pretty intense and fun this season. I especially had quite a bit of fun, but it was definitely pretty competitive. I think towards the end, when people started filling out their Combine games, like, they were messing around, but like, that's completely fine. Other than that, I think there were a lot of strong players in Combines who, in my opinion, did not show the same display of performance in the regular season. That could just be because of like team environment and overall form just like declining, and that's fine, I think.
I think that both actually Hunter and I can look at it from a different point of view just because we're both GMs, and so we do a lot of scouting in the tier. As opposed to, I think Shampoo, you were a pure player. You didn't have to scout or anything like that. You came in as a draft eligible for season 5. When you're playing in the tier itself, and then you're also playing in combines, you're both scouting and also playing. For me personally, I can't speak to how Hunter drafted, but for me, I was not just looking to perform well in combines. I was looking for people who had good chemistry with me. And so I was looking for people who not only were able to demonstrate good stats and good kills, all of that quantitative data, but also that qualitative data as well. Did you have good vibes? Were you toxic? If you were toxic, then you were on my do not draft list. Were you annoying to be around? Maybe you weren't toxic, but I just don't think I could have, been able to have you on my team. Then again, that's something else to consider. And on the other side, of course, then you see people who are great at maybe, talking and having good comms, but maybe aren't the strongest players statistically. Those are also super valuable for when I was in combines. I was looking for all of those qualities, I guess, going into combines.
First season, like I was AGM for like a month of season 4, so I did not go through the scouting like phase of being a GM. This was kind of my first season to like scout, and so playing combines not only as a player but as a GM and like trying to figure out who am I going to draft, who do I want on my team. And the combine experience especially is because we let new players or Ds come in, we let them kind of pick their roles in the combines first so that they can like show out to GMs or stuff like that. You end up essentially filling a lot, especially as a GM, because you're trying to see, you want the players that you're scouting to be on the best roles, can lead to sometimes not the best stat lines in a combine by a GM. During that process, just like figuring out, and I actually brought 4 players back for VTX, including me for our expert team, which I think some of it had to do with combines being my first season. I didn't necessarily know what exactly do I want on a team, something like that. But overall, the combine experience for a player, I think, is good. Expert had a fairly good amount of combines. I never felt like you couldn't find one if you really wanted to, which I think is important. Just Expert as a whole, I think everyone was mostly competitive. You're always, in every game you ever play, you're going to have some people who troll or something like that. But I think it's a very competitive tier. I don't think there was any teams that just like gave up at the end of the season or anything like that. And just same in combines. I don't think people were like playing half the map and giving up on it.
So then going into the kind of next phases, it seems like combines was fairly competitive. There always seemed to be a lobby going, and there always seemed to be a good-natured spirit of the game, making sure that not only is everyone trying, but also that people are still having fun. I think I got that inclination from Shampoo as well as a player, not just from the GM perspective. So then going into draft, I know that it's going to look very different for Hunter and Potato than it is for Shampoo. So perhaps Shampoo, maybe can you speak onto your draft experience, getting onto IE once again and talking a little bit about what it was like meeting your team and starting the season and preseason, what that looked like. And then Hunter and Potato, talk a little bit about your draft experience, talk about was it what you expected it to be in the preseason, or did you find that there were a lot of changes as the preseason and going into the season started?
The draft is just like any other draft. I wasn't really too worried about it. One thing, like I didn't know any of my teammates like at all. I've never interacted with them. A lot of them were new VDC players, except Saints. But I think the hardest part in preseason was figuring out just team chemistry and roles, because we had like 2 or 3 controller players on our team, and I felt most comfortable on controller. So we had to shift one of the other guys to like a flash initiator, and he was really good. I think we had like 7 people at the start of preseason, and we had to cut one because of MMR issues, or I think he just didn't play enough combines. And then someone else left as well. So after preseason, we were just left with 4 players, and I think Maddie was like scrambling to find a 5th for us before our first match day. And it was just like a shitty situation to be in. People you've tried to form a bond with, like they're not going to be your teammates anymore, and you're just reduced down to 4. It's just like a little stressful. I think as the season went on, we kind of just figured it out.
I think as a GM, or an AGM, anyone who has some sort of decision making over your team, preseason is super important. And you always want to make sure, like this was a lesson that MBS and I had to learn the hard way from season 2, is that you really want to make sure your draft plan is carefully planned out. You're not always going to get the players you want. You might have to make some difficult decisions in preseason, or conversely, you might be surprised by the people that you drafted without having too much information, and be like, oh, that person, that person should stay on the team. So always been kind of my take to, especially if there are a lot of returners, which I did have a lot this season, try and draft as few people as possible, just to make it so that the preseason is mostly about building chemistry and figuring out roles and stuff like that, and then be able to hit the regular season off to a strong start, hit the ground running, that kind of deal. For us this season, we had Motions, Hat, the Hat is here, Narte, those were all returners. And then I knew for a fact that I wanted to pick up Mike Tyson, because he was a really good friend of mine. I already knew, I played many, many, many matches with him, and I knew that we would make, he would add that personality, higher energy to the team. I'm very much a vibes based team, and I wanted to basically make sure we had the vibes, that we didn't really have to work too hard during the season. I just wanted to have fun with my friends. And so we ended up drafting him. We also ended up drafting Cade 10, and Cade 10 really surprised me. I knew he was a strong player, but I didn't get to hear him talk a lot. But when in preseason, the first map he played, I was like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? That's 6 players, and that's 6 players who are super good, and they all vibe with each other. And so preseason was about figuring out who vibed the most. Everybody got along really well. And so Motions ended up going on IR because there was some IRL things going on, so that made it a little bit easier for us. But preseason for us was just all about making sure the vibes were there and establishing that relationship. Especially since I was IGL, I really wanted to make sure that I established that relationship with my players early.
Also coming from GM, I promoted to expert, and we brought back Dobus, Red Panda, and D'Angelo. And we actually, in the off season, signed Snowy/Lily. And then, so we were able to, I guess she was considered a keeper pick, but was signed in the off season as a free agent. And we kind of knew that this was semi the team we wanted, but obviously I was still I told everyone preseason, right after, once preseason started, I gave them the schedule. I said, no one has a solid spot. It's anyone's fair game. I'm not going to go in here saying this is my 5. I don't care. I'm just playing you to required games or whatever. Everyone had a chance to make the team. We ended up with those roster spots just based off of some of the players we drafted ended up having some schedule issues or something like that. But the draft leading up, there's way more prep than I initially thought, which was exciting to me, actually, as the first-time GM. I like that process of scouting all these people and going through this draft process. And essentially, we didn't make playoffs, but I felt like overall we had a pretty decent season, and we finished with an even record, I'm pretty sure. So it was nice to see that come into fruition and feel like we had a couple players, some IRL things, some players get married, some players buy houses, kind of that kind of stuff. It just, stuff pops up. I felt pretty good with our season, even though we didn't make playoffs. Especially with the 4-team playoff now. I think last season was 6 teams, at least an apprentice. So, but the draft process is fun. And even as coming from a player, season 3 and season 4 was just a player. And coming from a player, it's exciting to watch that draft stream and then see where you get picked, especially season 3 when I joined the league, being like, okay, this team drafted me in, I think I was picked in the 2nd round. And they were I'm okay, they want me to be on their team. That's exciting. I can't wait to meet these people. And just in general, I met people through VTX and then met people through the divisions and stuff. So the draft is a very exciting time about VDC.
There's a lot of things that I liked that was said here. I think celebrating life events is just one of those things about VDC that you don't even realize that you're going to be doing. And I think that the team play and the team bonding that does take place in a really great team really does help. And I do appreciate also what was said about the draft too, is that everyone is drafted, but you don't know where you're going. The fact that Hunter said too is that we have our team, our core 5, but really, no, we don't. This is anyone's game. So by signing up for the league, you're not signing up and saying, oh, I guess I'm just not going to get an opportunity to play. You have an opportunity to really not only vibe, get to know the people, but also show the abilities that you do have. And I think Potato's saying that, yes, there's personality hires and there's vibes, but I really do that speaks to the volume of VDC, that we're not just looking for the KDA. We're not just looking for specific stats. We're looking for a team. We're looking for the human. We're looking for the person. And at the end of the day, I think that that's also a really big factor there. And I know that some people may disagree here or there on that, but I like to hear that we're not just looking at just the numbers. We're also looking at the person, who they are, and what they're going to bring to the team and to VDC as well. So I appreciate that a lot. Going forward then into the season, I'm hearing some inklings about going into the season, not making it to playoffs. How would you say that your personal season went on your team, and what were your highlights of the season? Were there any fun clips or moments that you had with your team? And was there anything that really stood out to you this season?
Yeah, oh my god, where do I even begin? Because there's just so much I need to get off my chest about this season. To give a bit more context, our final roster was me, Saints, Dudu, Zag, and Room. And I think as a five, we were, like, mechanically at least, we were, like, really, really good. The problem is, we only got to play one match day with our entire roster. And the one match day that we did play, we ended up 2-0ing the other team. So we were like, oh, like, if we stick together, we're gonna be, like, the best team ever. That can't happen when no one's there, and that's fine. Like, people have real life things to focus on and other priorities, and I also missed, like, 2 match days, so like, I can't be saying anything, but I think on our team, Room was like the big sort of vibes guy. Like when everyone got tilted, he would just like calm us down, and I really appreciated that. The other problem that our team ran into really quick was we didn't really have an IGL. I had to take like a lot of the responsibility, just like pre-rounding and be involved in the mid round as well. But I also had to focus on like fragging out at the same time, and like my comms sometimes went a little quiet because like I was just too focused on like finding kills, and it was the same for a lot of other players as well. It didn't help us build that coordination that you would see a lot of other teams like steadily build throughout the season. I think a lot of our match days we just had to find a sub or find 2 subs. One other thing, I think I wanted to add this onto the preseason bit as well. The teams that you do face in the preseason, like, it can skew your view on how strong they are, because like you might think they're absolutely shit, but like they completely change their roster in the end of the season and they're just strong. Like LG, their preseason team was like not good. When we faced them again in the regular season, it was just the difference was night and day. It made for very close games. I would say like our games against LG were like intense games we've had, and I've also had a lot of fun playing those games. Expert this season was like pretty close because you can see any team take a map off, even the first seed. There was a lot of upset potential within the teams in this tier. I think one team that didn't not perform was Solaris. Like, I'm not shitting on them or anything. It's like, it is what it is. Every team was like really competitive. Honestly, like if we won maybe 1 or 2 maps, like I think we would have had like a good shot at playoffs. And the 1 or 2 maps that we did lose, they were very, very close. In retrospect, yeah, we didn't make playoffs, but like the games were really hard fought. I had a lot of fun just trying to win his games, win his maps, and taking it round by round. Maybe next season I'll make playoffs again. That's too far ahead to think about for now.
Shampoo, I think you touched on a lot of things. Those are the problems that can definitely come up in the regular season. I mean, one player missing can make just a huge difference. Or even just changing one player, even like, maybe you have a player who's out, but could be subbed in again and again and again, but that one person is super integral to your team. Or your original 5 wasn't good, but then your GMs make a roster change and that person gets replaced with somebody else, and that person makes the team win over and over and over again. I think you had mentioned LG, and I completely agree. Adding Terror to their roster completely flipped their roster. I mean, they were like I think they were like 6th in the entire tier before they added roster, and then I think out of the next 15 maps that they played, they lost 2. It was insane. They made it into playoffs just based off of that one roster change, and kudos to the GMs for quickly catching that and making sure that the roster was able to was able to be changed so quickly. And I think that like my team had issues, but like only towards the end of the season. I think like for the first half of the season, Double Taps was super dominant. I mean, they were neck and neck with Mafia 14 and or like 6 or something like that, or whatever or it's like 14 and 4. It was like a stupid high number. We weren't doing anything super intentional, to be honest. We were literally just showing up to match days and having fun, and that would carry us. Those vibes would carry us to a win. And then afterwards, we'd queue up and we'd lose our ranked games. It really was such a good lesson for me, because in the past, when I was in advanced, I was the IGL. I would care so much about, I would VOD review the other teams if I could find a VOD, or I would VOD review us. I'd find us coaches. We'd get us scrims every week and this stuff like that. And like this season, like I just was like, I have too much on my plate IRL. If we lose, we lose. If we win, that's great. I don't care. Let's just go in and have fun and vibe. I know so many of those players, personally, and so I just wanted to have a good season with them. And that absolutely happened. Midway through the season, I would say something kind of changed. Disagreements on what the line was for BMing, and me personally, as the head mod, I don't tolerate any BM, because I want to make sure that everybody in the tier, or really any games who face against us, and also in the games that, that we're playing as a team, that we enjoy ourselves and that they are able to just play a good, fun, clean game. And so because there was some of that disagreement, you could see that reflected in our second half performance. We didn't really win very many maps, but we still made it into playoffs pretty handedly. And unfortunately, we also lost our first overall pick. They actually ended up leaving the league entirely, again, just because there were some disagreements. No bad blood, it is what it is. IRL things can crop up too. But, it was unfortunate going into playoffs then that we were down a player. But thankfully, Motions was able to stay as a rostered player, so he came off of IR for that. It was, again, such a good lesson for me. Because I'm the IGL, I know I'm not supposed to be fragging, and I was playing Sentinel. A lot of times it would be like 8 to 10 or something like that. Now I won't even have hit tab to look at my KD. I just look at like the ecos, the ult stuff like that. And then when the game ends, I'm like, oh, I was 8 and 16 that game. Who cares? We still won the game. My team would always like kind of poke fun at the fact that I'm notorious for pulling single digit headshot percentages. But we would still get to a win. IGLing isn't about, as Shampoo said, getting those wins or getting those frags. It's about getting the win overall and making sure your team is together enough to do those executes that they know what's going on. I actually did a test during the season. We did a scrim where I was like, all right, what if I say absolutely nothing? And I don't micro, I don't do any of the macro. You guys just figure it out. I'm gonna play the Silent Sentinel, and I'll just give you minimal comp. And oh boy, we lost pretty badly to an apprentice team actually that we were scrimming. It was OS's apprentice team. And I think it kind of showed my team that we should work on a little bit on our communications. Potato is definitely like kind of the glue that holds us together in these circumstances. That was a good lesson for me to teach them, that was like, yeah, we're not really taking this too serious, but like there is a minimum amount of communication that has to happen for us to pull out a win. So yeah, I would say that this season was pretty successful for us. But I also very much enjoyed my team, the camaraderie that we were able to develop.
So on VTX, I was moved up this season to expert from apprentice the previous season, and the previous 2 seasons I had played pretty well. Coming into this, I switched off the duelist role and went to Sentinel because of our team. I felt as though Snowy and D'Angelo both could play the duelist role really well, and I was like, okay, we'll try something different. And I was pretty disappointed in the season in terms of my personal play, but I think as a team, I wasn't disappointed in our season. I think even though we had to use subs, not like incredibly often, but I would say we use subs in at least half our matches, which is not the most ideal. But the camaraderie, like you said, of the group was really good. And in terms of, we weren't able to set up a lot of scrims, which I wish I would have done more, especially as the GM, the entire franchise. Not necessarily disappointed with the team. And I think in going into next season, the roster can be very good again. Even if I don't know what the plan is with the roster at this moment. We just got into the off season. I've kind of been waiting, chilling out on VDC in general. I think the season went well. We were one map off of playoffs, which went down to literally the last. We were playing against MF while tabbing into to see the LG game because we needed to win and they needed to lose. literally until I don't know
I'm
about my
sorry,
teammates.
man. I'm sorry. Listen, we did not throw on purpose. I can assure you that. We just
And
lost, bro. They were too good. They were too
yeah,
good.
they were playing in LG was playing incredible at the end of the season. At that point, we had took a map off MF, which I was happy with. Obviously, they went on to win the whole championship. LG happened to win, is what it is. The season ended, but I don't think it ended on a bad note. We ended on a win. We won the last map we played. Not only one team can say that. I think overall the season was good. Plan to come back next season, playing better on the role that I tried to learn this season, as well as trying to take over a more IGL role, because I think we were missing a very strong IGL on VTX. There was a lot of just pugging it out, see head, shoot head.
Yeah, the swinger be swung model, from what I hear. No, it's fascinating hearing the different seasons you have, but also just how tight the race could be is because, yes, you won, you did your job, but it also is 100% dependent on other people a lot of the time in VDC, right? Being able to see their performance, because yes, at the end of the day, like, you can win a lot of maps, but everyone has those bad days, right? You could have people who are sick. Could have people who need to sub out for IRL stuff, right? And we have subs come in and subs come out. But at the end of the day, sometimes other teams just come out on top and they come out of nowhere, or you come out on top and you weren't expecting it. So I think it really speaks to just how Expert this season in particular was a very tight race, a very hard fought race, but also really fun to hear. I mean, tabbing out of the game to be able to see what your stats are. And I even remember in VDC, we have the bot command where you can see the standings. And those last 2 nights of Expert, I could just see so many standings, and every match that was submitted, a standing like command would come up. So there were people watching, and it was a very tight race. And I really think it speaks volumes to just not only how much people were into it, but also just how tight the race was in general. So then I guess I think that ends that kind of your season. Other than Potato, I think both of the playoffs shut down IE and Vortex this season. So then perhaps Potato, I was going to say, maybe do you want to speak to a little bit about what playoffs was like before we go to the last question?
We ended up facing OS in semis, which actually they were the last team that we played in regular season 2. And we knew that, I mean, if you looked at the standings, the only spot that was in contention was seed 4. We were locked into 2 and 3 no matter what happened. I remember Babu and I just like DMing each other, hey, do you care about this game? And he was like, not really. And I was like, you guys want to just have fun and roulette? And so yeah, we ended up like rouletting, not caring. They picked the worst map, we picked a random map. I got my VDC knife in, that was all that mattered. Shout out Bomber, sorry dude. But it was super fun. It was like a great way to end the regular season, especially since, we had like kind of a last minute roster shakeup, like literally the day before that match. And then we went into semis, and oh my God, that stuff was insane. There was no bad blood between the teams, but for some reason, people were talking a lot of smack about my team in particular. And so it was really interesting to go into that semis, like knowing that we were almost like the villains of the playoffs, of the teams that were in playoffs. And so we went in and we had to play with a sub, Deadass, subbed in for Motions, and he was playing for Initiator. But because there were so many tech issues because of production from the stream, there was some miscommunication on when he had to leave. He actually ended up having to leave after the first map. And so I was not expecting this, and shout out to Babu, what a sweetheart. Didn't call like an FF or anything like that, no technicalities. And he let me find an extra, a sub to come in for map 2 and 3. And so shout out to one of my apprentice players, Ray. He stepped in big time and played the second and third map. Second map. He was going to play the third map as well. We won split the first map, 14 and 12, which is super tight, but I was a little bit annoyed going into the second map, just because map 1 we had a 10-3 lead, and they brought it back. The OS boys are super resilient, and I love that team. They really were able to pull it back and make it super close for us. Sunset on the second map, we played really, really well. I think that was kind of the map that my whole team kind of realized that the comms were a lot cleaner, that there wasn't like that the core 4, like I think we were all kind of worried, you know, we've been playing with this core 5 for so long, but now we're down 1, this core 4, could we still do it? I think that made us realize, oh crap, we really can, you know. We played off of each other really well. We talked to each other. They listened really well. There wasn't like a ton of like pre-round yapping going on, that so I was able to get like my own plan out, and they were able to like get in position for it and everything like that. We just played super, super well, and I was so proud of my team for being able to move on to finals, especially with all of that roster shakeup that we had, all of those sub issues, and we still played really well. Going into finals, I did the same thing I did for semis and did absolutely zero preparation, which was kind of funny. I just didn't want to have that stress to, you know, go into it. You know, if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. It's not like we can really prepare a ton with having to play with a sub anyway. We played finals and unfortunately did get knocked out 3 maps. I woke up that morning to a message from Cade saying, hey, my parents planned something without consulting me, and he is still in high school, so he has to go and like, you know, do what his parents tell him to do. And so he was like, I can't come back until 9 p.m. EST. And we changed that time to 7 p.m. EST already. And so like I was like trying to figure out what to do, trying to find like avoid a sub at all costs because we already had to play with one. But unfortunately, you know, MF was not able to move the time. They said that they had 3 people who had to get up early in the morning. And so, you know, fair. And we went in. Cade literally missed the 3rd map by 5 minutes.
Oh
So,
my god, that's
yeah.
tragic. Oh.
And you could really tell, like, you know, going into our finals, like shout out to Bobbert and Skeptic Cheese. They played their hearts out. They played really, really well. And I told them afterwards, like, thank you guys so much for subbing. I appreciate you guys for coming in. If you guys had been rostered and had even played with us, like maybe even 1 or 2, you know, match days before, I think we would have this might have been a different story. You know, shout out to both of them for trying their hardest. We just, you know, there was just too much in my brain, and I take a little bit of responsibility for that as well. You know, just trying to like, how do you go against a team that has been able to play together all season? How do you go against a team that has ascendant, like 4 ascendant peaks and 1 diamond 3 peak and 1 immortal peak? You know, like what are you supposed to do? That's all. I mean, MF played super well, and you know they came out of that with like great sportsmanship after the end. I would have loved to see a finals matchup with my core 4. I think that would have been super. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, maybe we were meant to have won with the core 4, but at the very least it would have been a closer loss. And so I think that kind of fell flat for me for the season. Just, you know, nobody wants to end their overall season like that. And so, but it's all good. I have a lot of really great players. And I think one of my apprentice players is probably going to get moved up anyway next season. So I love every single player that I have on my team. And shout out to MF. They deserve the win. They did play really, really well.
Thanks for speaking to that too, because I think that something that I think needs to be shared in all of the tiers and review is just how much the FA pool, the free agent pool, the RFA pool really help the league, and how we need players regardless of if you can sign up and commit, but also if you can't, you can only make it to 1 match day. There's lots of opportunities available. I mean, you had 2 players that you needed last minute too. Like you had 5 minutes or so to find a sub last second semifinals. So lots of opportunity for players to be able to come in and sub in and also test the waters out for lots of different areas. But I like how you speak to mindset going into these types of high pressurized environments. I'd say that esports, especially, you see these high pressurized environments, you see these core teams, but in VDC, yes, it's a high pressurized competitive environment, but at the end of the day, we're here for fun. fun. We're here to not just get to play the game, get to learn new agents, get to hang out with people, but you're here to have fun yourself. And I think that mindset is really important to have in this league as well, because I think it's what keeps people coming back day in and day out. It's not just, like I'm improving in my own personal rank journey. It's also getting an opportunity to be able to explore the other parts of Valorant that you can't necessarily get in solo queuing, and you can't necessarily get one going into a game with randoms. It's a huge different experience as well. So then going forward into this last kind of section of this tier in review, I'd like to know about your plans. Are you looking to continue with VDC? What are you most looking forward to in the next season?
Yeah, so I still don't know if I have the time to come back next season, but ideally, like, I want to come back and, like, I'm still gonna be playing ranked. So my goal is to, like, try to aim for Mythic and maybe shift off of Smokes, because that's like I've played 2 full seasons on Smokes and I love playing Smokes, but like at the same time I think just flexing on our different agents and like taking on like an IGLing role, that's something I'd be like interested in doing, because like I said before, it's something we severely lacked this season. And, I don't want any team I'm a part of to go through that same thing again. So that's something I'd want to do. Hopefully be more available if I play next season and not miss any match days. I think that'd also help my team a lot. Another goal maybe to actually like win MVP. It's like a very like ambitious goal, but I think this season I was in the running for it, at least for like a majority of the season, but like towards the end I just like had bad performances and my overall stats just like went down, which sucks, but like just to be more consistent, being a better teammate, just like playing with my teammates like outside of match days, just talking to them, feeling out the vibes. I feel like that's something I didn't do as much, and I think it would have helped us just develop that chemistry even more. But like if we have any disagreements, I would want to like, not. I just want to address them more maturely. Yeah, just being an overall better teammate. That's something I would want to hope, like something I want to do next season if I play.
Next season, I will still be remaining as GM. As a player, probably not. Just because there's potentially some IRL things, and VDC in general, with the number of roles I have in VDC, this last season has been really tough juggling all of that. And so I think if one thing, one role that I was playing in VDC had to go, it'd probably be player first. And so and also like I want to give my team, an opportunity, players who I might think are good on that roster, I want to give them that chance to play as well. I highly encourage anybody who's interested in playing to play. I mean, I've met so many amazing friends and people through this. Definitely have also developed my ability to play Valorant better too. I don't think I would have described myself as an IGL. In fact, season 1, I don't even think I knew what an IGL was. This was my very first FPS. And I had gotten myself to gold 2 simply by Viper one-tricking and Odin maining and
Ew,
Judge one-tricking.
disgusting.
So,
Disgusting. I hope you never rank up. I'm just kidding. I'm just
joke's
kidding.
on you. I hit Diamond 3.
Ugh.
But no, I think that like it has, like, if you want to put the time and the effort in, the people, the community are there to help you out. And so like I definitely would love to continue to develop that, environment for players, for new players, both in my roles in VDC, but also as a GM, to be able to develop and foster that environment where people feel comfortable, being themselves. I'm a girl gamer, so like I want to make sure that other girl gamers, like the girls and the non-binary pals, they're all like the gals and the non-binary pals, they all feel like welcome.
Speaking about VDC and kind of general, and like what I'm looking forward to is the always getting better. I got a PC less than 2 years ago. Never had played a PC game in my life. I joined VDC in season 3, was silver 2. And then just before the episode ended, this past episode, I hit Ascendant 2. So that is in literally like 3 seasons of EDC. You not only learn how to play different roles if you need to, how to IGL, like you said, IGL, that's a whole nother aspect. When I first started, when I was silver, dude, I'm pretty sure I never spoke a word in my ranked games. And I think I unlocked Reyna first because I thought she just looked cool.
No
Not
way.
not knowing the whole.
You probably like threw my rank games. That's
You
Probably.
are the
Dude.
problem.
Oh
Hunter.
my
You
God,
were the
you're
problem.
You were the problem, man, for real. Give back my elo. I would have been like radiant by now.
Just the fact, like, and I've met so many people through VDC. So my IRL friends don't like, they play Valorant occasionally, but like not to the level of like playing in a league or anything like that. So meeting, like I think Queenie was in contender with me, season 3. Terror Kid, Fire Devil, Castaway Ron was a sub this season, but he was on my contender team. All of these players that I've played with, or like played ranked with, or played in VDC with, mean so much. Like it is a genuinely, there's so much camaraderie within the league, where I think any tier you're in, there is like a level of that. Like I think players in contender know each other now. Player or prospect. Sorry, it's been a whole season and I still don't have it right. Apprentice all gel together, and even like I moved up to expert and I knew like nobody. Like I was I don't even know that, maybe like a handful of people moved up from apprentice to expert last season. None of them were really people I talked to. So I had to meet a whole new group of people. Like even in VTX, I did not like talk to the expert team before, like when I was in the tier below the season before or anything like that. But now I've met all these expert players that are super awesome. Just VDC in general. If you can't be here Wednesdays and Fridays, if you're only open Wednesdays, we have FA signups, RFA signups where you don't have to be locked onto a roster, and teams need subs every single match day. Every single tier needs subs every match day. I guarantee you'll be able to play games, and even if you just want to try it and play sub a game and then you don't like it, you don't have to play another one. There's nobody forcing you to do this. So I would really encourage anyone to join VDC.
Yeah, I also want to add on real quick to some advice for new players, especially if you're like a quiet person. Because like you saying like you didn't talk, like that reminded me too of my first season. When my first combine, I was on the team. I got like randomly sorted into the team that like was loud and like they were talking a lot, and like as a girl gamer, you get a lot of weirdos. And so like I didn't know if that was going to be like the situation. So I don't remember really talking or coming very much. But you know, I stuck with it. I played more combines. I met people. I made friends. People who then pointed out that me being a Viper one trick who only Odin and judged was maybe problematic for, you know, a lot of people. So you know, I learned how to play smokes. I learned how to play other agents, all of that kind of stuff. And you know, I've found now a group of people who would play not only Valorant but also other games with me. I'm a little bit of a trader now, and I'm playing a lot of CS2 lately. So like, you know, so like,
No way.
you just make so many friends, and it's not just Valorant. Like I can't stress this enough. It's not just Valorant. It's, you know, there are human beings behind these computers and, you know, the Discord profile pictures, and you get to know them and you get to make friends. And I've met people IRL. Queenie's met people IRL. And you know, from VDC, and you know, it's just such a pleasure to get to meet people for sure.
This might sound simple, and I think you guys have reiterated it a lot, but just having fun and not like taking on any pressure even during like the most intensive games. But also like don't make Valorant like your 9 to 5 day job just because you're playing in a for fun to play league. Like prioritize your real life, your mental health. You know, if you only have to play on match days to like keep your sanity in check, like that's also fine. But I would say just like playing, like I think Potato touched on this, just playing ranked with your teammates outside the game and other stuff as well goes a long way. Like even way back from season 3, like I still play with 320 games. Like we still duo queue quite a bit, even to this day, and that was like more than a year ago. So, you know, just finding those long-term friendships or people you can talk to, that usually helps too.
And I think that's a good place to end it here. Just so many good vibes from what I'm hearing in the expert tier, and I'm also seeing a lot of just genuine competitive play, but also just non-toxic vibes, which is what I really would love to see more in the Valorant community. So thank you all so much for not only your time, but for sharing a little bit about your franchises, about the teams that you're on, and also about your real raw experiences. So thank you so much for that. And I guess we're going to end it here. So everyone, you can say a quick little goodbye, and we'll see you all in the next tier review next week. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.